And I always say, like, if you've met one 75-year-old, you've met one 75-year-old. We
Yes.
tend to talk about older people, and I'm putting that in quotes, as if they are some sort of homogenous group, like they are all exactly the same.
Yes.
And, they are as diverse as any other age group. And if not more diverse, because they've got a million different life experiences that have shaped who they have become. And so you are going to continue to grow older, and you are still going to be the unique individual that you are right now. When you grow older. You don't suddenly hit an age and then just everybody becomes the same and they're all cranky and they don't understand technology and, just all the things that we are stereotypes about older people. I think it's so funny how we just go older people and it's like they're this group and it's like, no, they're just people. They're
right.
They're
Hello and welcome to the F.E.E.L Podcast. I have a new friend here with me today. Dr. Corinne Auman is joining me, and we are going to have the most fascinating conversation. And I think for me, this one hits close to home because I just had a birthday that kind of has me entering this phase in life that has kind of I would tell you when I was growing up, I would have said, oh, they're getting close to retirement. They're getting older or old. I'm now in that age group. I'm like, I'm not old. I feel great. I'm the most productive and clear about who I am that I've ever been. I feel like I'm just getting started. So we're going to get into that more in a minute as I share her story with you. We're going to go through the talking points. But welcome to the podcast. I'm so glad you're joining me here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. And Dr. Corinne, she describes herself as reliable, ambitious, trustworthy, and she's just got some non-negotiables, no BS policy. And I can relate to that so wholeheartedly. And I think that is a beauty that comes with time and age and wisdom, that you just get to this point where you understand putting all that energy into caring and living in a way that is abandoning yourself doesn't do anybody any good, and least of all you. And it's a relief and a freedom when you get to that point. But I'm so glad you're joining me. I can't wait to get in this conversation. You've got so many great resources, and the way that you are talking about and thinking about the research you've done, I think is going to open the door, because we're going to talk about a topic today throughout this that if we're fortunate enough, we all get to do. We all get to age, but yet we don't treat it like the privilege that it is. And, so I think, the way we think about it, one is a privilege if you are fortunate enough to live into those many years. And let's address the way we're living through it in a way that we're not just alive, we're thriving. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So to get started on your story, talk to me about the role of self-care in your life, prioritizing yourself, knowing the necessity of taking care of you. Is that something you've always had a good scope on, or is that something you had to grow into through life?
Oh, I think it's something I had to grow into for sure. If there's somebody who has always been able to prioritize it, I am envious of that person. But I think particularly for women, especially as you become a mother to small children, and there's 500 million demands on your time from every direction. Yeah. It is so easy to lose yourself in that and to be everything for everybody else instead of being there for yourself. And so especially as you move, my children are a little bit older, but they're teenagers now, but they still need you all the time. They're still blowing up my phone all the time. And then I also have aging parents that I'm in the process of caring for and at the same time. So it's not like it gets easier or somehow, as I think there's this kind of myth that as your kids get older, somehow because they don't need you every single second, it gets easier, but it just shifts from one stage to the next. And there's still a ton of demands. For me, in terms of self-care, I think growing into the idea that I can't pour from an empty cup,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to do things that are meaningful and valuable to me, that fill my cup up,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that is, rather than thinking I've got to constantly self-sacrifice for everybody else. And, for me, honestly, one of the self-care things a couple of years ago was writing my book, because I'd wanted to write my book for years and years.
Yeah.
Writing it meant leaving my house on the weekends, like on a Sunday morning or a Saturday morning,
Mm-hmm.
and taking 5 hours to go to the office or to a coffee shop or somewhere to write. And there is mom guilt involved in that. Like there's this sort of, I should be at home, I should be doing these things, spending time with my family. But that was really important to me to get that book done, to write it. And it was a form of self-care to be selfish enough to say, no, I really have to go do this. I'm going to be really disappointed in myself and unhappy if I don't go do this.
Yeah. I think too, we underestimate the power that example sets for our children when they see us choosing us, that you don't have to give up your whole life, your own dreams. You still get to live and be you while caring for them. I think especially as a woman, as a mom, it sends such a healthy message to them that not only will they allow themselves that space, but they will allow their partners that space if they partner someday, or the people they work with. I think there's a lot of, instead of the mom guilt, it's like, actually, this is me teaching them what this looks like. Motherhood doesn't mean you just absolve everything else and focus only on that. You still get to follow your dreams, your instincts, take that time for you, fill your cup. How much healthier are you showing up for them when there's no resentment about you putting things on the back burner because you have decided in your head, society, cultural narratives have told you, you can't do that right now.
Yeah. And, I think too, I like a good massage and I like a glass of wine, and all of that is great self-care too. But I don't think self-care has to be limited to those kinds of, I'll say, special treats or pampering. I mean, self-care is also following your own dreams and finding your own path. And, that sort of personal or professional fulfillment is part of self-care as well.
Absolutely. Living into those authentic things that you feel called to. I tell people all the time, I'm like, write down 5 activities that nourish you, whatever those activities are. Those need to be part of your self-care menu. Those need to be, so whatever it is, what are your dreams? Like, 5 words on how you want to feel the next 6 months. We'll get to those questions at the end. But when I'm working with women, I ask them those questions. This is telling you what you care about. This is part of your value system. Don't neglect that, in any season of your life. Absolutely. And this goes nicely into setting healthy boundaries. You created a specific time for 5 hours, 1 day a week on this weekend. I'm going to go do this. It was intentional. It was in your calendar, and you didn't allow other things, because when you take on something like that, and I think we underestimate, it's like boundaries and communication is kind. Everybody knew what I was going to be doing that day. Everybody knew not to ask something different of me that day. It was clear. There was no gray area. There was no, if they bug me enough, I'll change my mind. This is what it was. And then everybody can plan accordingly. That's such a great example of a healthy, clearly communicated boundary.
Yeah. Well, and I would love to tell you that I thought about it that clearly when it was happening. But I can't say that I did, but it certainly in reflection was in that sense that, because I'm going to go do this. And, I did try to choose times that were convenient in the sense that because my kids are older and they're teenagers, they're asleep on Saturday and Sunday.
Oh,
mornings,
yeah.
right?
You're not missing any. Hanging around the house. They're asleep. They're on the phone with their friends. They're doing their homework. They don't need you.
They don't need me. So, it is strategic, those times that I chose. But at the same time, it's also, it's that if anybody woke up and they're wandering around the house, mom's not here. And we know she's not here. And we know she's not going to be here. And so we can't get up and say, hey, can you take me here? Can you do this or do that? Because this time is built in. She'll be home in a little while. And I think that's really important to try to set that time aside, whatever it is, for whatever you need it to be, having that kind of, this is the block. These are the rules.
Yeah. And you said something I think is important too. Trust your instincts on this, because you said, at the time when I did this, I wasn't completely, tuned into the fact of what it was actually setting a clear, healthy boundary, but I followed my instincts. I followed my heart. I followed my nudging. Trust those things. Those are telling you what you need to hear about yourself. And so you end up doing these things organically. And you're like, oh yeah, I did carve out that time. I was clear about that. So there's a lot of ways to look at it too. It just goes back to the value of trusting yourself. All right, let's get into this next one. And I think this, not only in your own life, but in the work that you're doing. I mean, your book, Keenagers, talks a lot about this, the research you've done, the impact of mental, emotional, physical health. When we are living authentically into ourselves, we're tending to all those parts of us, and we're allowing other people to. And we don't put stigmas and stereotypes or limits when someone gets to a certain season in life, because we've seen time and time again the impact that has negatively on mental health and emotional health when we don't allow people to live out from where they still feel called to, still feel aligned with.
Yeah. So this is really interesting to me. I talk about this a lot in my book. And our stereotypes about growing older really have not kept up with the reality of what it is actually like to grow older today. So, our stereotypes about, and you and I were talking about this a little prior to hitting record, that, you got to 55, 60, and everybody is thinking, oh, well, you're getting ready to retire. You got one foot out the door. And our traditional stereotypes say that, right? That 65 is the retirement age, and everybody should want to retire by 55 or 60. And, early retirement is your goal. And what is so interesting today is what you said to me prior to starting, and what I hear all the time from people who are in their 50s and early 60s, and they're going, no, I'm just hitting my stride. Like, I feel the best right now that I've probably felt my whole life. I'm in good shape. I'm in good health. I'm getting a little more freedom from my kids, but I know all this stuff. Like, I'm an expert in my field and I'm on top of my game. And they really feel like they are in their prime when our society is kind of sending them this message of, well, when are you going to retire? And don't you want to slow down? And aren't you ready to just go relax on the beach and do nothing else? So it doesn't match. It's really hard for people as they get through this age, because you have this way you're feeling.
Yeah.
And then you have all this cultural messaging that kind of makes you go, what's happening? Why are people looking at me in a certain way? Or why are people constantly asking me when I'm going to retire? I have a friend who's almost 70 and still working and loves what he does, is very good at it. And people keep asking him, why haven't you retired? Aren't you going to retire? When are you going to retire? And he finally looked at me and he said, are they trying to tell me that I'm not good at this anymore? Because but what I really think it is that it's just people's expectations. And it's like a conversation starter. They don't know what else to say because it surprises them that he's still at work and that he's still doing, his day-to-day stuff. So it hasn't kept up, and it makes for a really interesting 50, 60, 70s, because if you're still keen to keep doing things, you're highly developed, you're really interested in life, you're really interested in a topic, and you're not fitting that sort of, it's time to withdraw and retire stereotype, people don't know what to do with you. People don't know how to react.
Yeah, it's so interesting. They don't know. Ageism is a real thing. They start looking at things that it's like, you're trying to get me to put on the brakes. I'm just now hitting the gas. I think it's especially true for women, because many times women have maybe taken a break in their careers or made shifts if they've raised a family. So they get to this point where the kids are out the door, they're grown, they've got the time, the energy, they've been waiting to do this. And I think that society is missing out on a whole group of women that are fresh, ready, way more current than you would imagine. We're keeping up on the technology, the AI, we're learning things. We're also, something I've done, I've surrounded my team is all in their mid 20s. So I've surrounded myself intentionally to have voices with me. My daughters are in their 20s and one's in her early 30s, just barely over 30. But keeping those voices of relevance in my head to keep us current, to help with those things that maybe I need some guidance on, some language on, some skills on. But then also, I mean, I have friends throughout the spectrum. I mean, I had a friend on last week on one of my panels. She's one of my dearest friends, first friends here where I live in Fresno. She's 40. She just turned 40. I'm 56. I don't feel like there's this big age gap. She and I have a ton of things in common that we connect on. Another friend's a few years older, but she had kids later. So her kids are still very young. But so I think it's just rethinking. Age is truly just a number, and you get to decide how it is you live that out. Some people are ready to step out and do something else. Some people are just hitting their stride. So instead of putting this blanket of expectation over it, get curious about each person you come across. And for those that, maybe you do have their skills need to be updated or lacking, then have conversations about that and see if there's a way you can meet them. Or, is there a different way they want to go? For me, I'm in a completely different area working now than I was when I started 30 years ago. So but get curious and don't make these assumptions and don't miss out on the value and wisdom that a life well lived and a willingness to continue to be learned and keep the curiosity going can add to your organization.
Yeah. So what you've just described is the power of an intergenerational workforce, where you've talked about all those different age groups you've got that you're interacting with. And, each generation, each individual has different skills and talents that they bring to the table. And the best workforces are the ones that are utilizing all the different generations. You don't want all young voices. You don't want all middle-aged voices. You don't want all older. You want that diversity because, they know stuff that I don't know. Those 20-year-olds know things I don't know, but I also know things that they don't know. And so when we are together, we can do a lot more. And that is, and there is research that backs that up. I mean, there is real power in that. And the other thing that you mentioned, and I always say, like, if you've met one 75-year-old, you've met one 75-year-old. We tend to talk about older people, and I'm putting that in quotes, as if they are some sort of homogenous group, like they are all exactly the same.
Yes.
And, they are as diverse as any other age group. And if not more diverse, because they've got a million different life experiences that have shaped who they have become. And so you are going to continue to grow older, and you are still going to be the unique individual that you are right now. When you grow older, you don't suddenly hit an age and then just everybody becomes the same and they're all cranky and they don't understand technology and, just all the things that we are stereotypes about older people. I think it's so funny how we just go older people and it's like they're this group and it's like, no, they're just people. They're
right.
They're people.
Yeah, absolutely. So good. All right. For this next one, showing up unapologetically for yourself as well as other women in your life. And for me, this really starts with I had an I'm sorry problem for years that I needed a lot of accountability with my partner, with my therapist, and women are very, very prone to it. Walking into a room, I think this is something that we sometimes see older people feel prone to too, because because of the way we treat them in terms of, I tell women all the time, quit living like you're an inconvenience. Let's quit treating our older generations and people and the way and the things that the lens we look at them through, like they're an inconvenience. They're full. Don't put a stereotype on them or a stigma or an expectation on them that puts them in this space. But for you personally, talk to me about that journey of learning to show up unapologetically, know your voice deserves to be seen, known, and heard. I would imagine as you wrote this book and did this research, there were probably some pushback moments where you had to be like, no, wait a minute. I got something to say here and y'all need to hear it.
I'd say that's an ongoing process all the time.
Yeah.
When I was writing the book, I actually had some Post-it notes here by my computer. And one of them was, you can't be heard if you refuse to be seen. Because I'm an introvert by nature. And even though I felt like I had something to say and that there was a really important message here, I also felt this sort of, I want to just kind of stay home. And it has been a real push for me to show up for myself and do social media, right? Like do social media videos and do all the things I need to do to get the message out, to try to be in front of people. I love to teach. Like I love being like as a speaker, like being in front of a group, all of that, 100%. But like the social media piece has felt so hard for me because it's just like, oh, I don't want to do this. But to show up for myself, to show up for who I want to be and the message I want to present, I've got to go. I don't care what happens with the social media, right? The message is more important. I can't get hung up on, and I think this is very particular to women as we get older. I can't get hung up on how I look or comments about how I look or, and there's all this pressure on women in particular as we get older about, Botox and fillers and all these things, which I have nothing against.
Right.
No problem with that. I think every woman should be able to choose how she wants to age. And if that's Botox and fillers, great. And if that's not, fantastic. What I have a problem with is people feeling like that everybody gets to deserve to have commentary on how women look. As if I am here to be pleasing to your eyes and that is my purpose. And if I'm not doing it, then I shouldn't be seen or heard. Yes. And I think there was this part of me that was afraid of what people would say, like that there would be trolls in like the social media stuff. And the way I've gotten around that is I have a social media manager who posts everything and they read all the comments and they send anything important they send to me, but any of the trolls or anything like that, they just delete, get rid of them because I finally decided that was a worthwhile investment because that way I can show up and I can get my message out and I can do what I want to do without having to put the emotional bandwidth in to deal with a bunch of BS from people who are going to have comments that I don't really need to care about. Their opinion of me is not my business. And so, but I think that is really particular to women because men, as they get older, do not have that same sort of pressure on them at all.
No, not at all. I mean, they're dignified, they're distinguished, whatever it is we find when we see a white-headed man in his 50s or 60s. My sister-in-law, I remember this very clearly. She has retired recently, very happily. Now she's doing amazing volunteer work at other organizations. So she's just filling her time differently. But she had a job change happen. An organization she was working for sold and they were changing. So she was having to look for a job in her late 50s. And I remember her specifically making sure, and she was told by her kind of person that was helping her with the search, like, go dye your hair to your natural color. Because if you go in with your hair like that as a woman, you won't get beyond the first round. They'll never tell you that, but you won't get beyond the first round. That's a classic example of the kind of stuff that still exists out there for women.
Yep.
And I mean, it's so interesting when I'll use my husband as an example. His hair, doesn't have hardly any gray hair, but his beard, when he grows it out, is all white. People, oh, you look like this distinguished, da-da-da-da-da. If I were to do that, it would not be the same. And it's just such a double standard for women as they're aging. And so, being mindful about that and just learning to show up unapologetically. And so many women I know have learned to just embrace that and be like, whatever. If you choose not to have me in your orbit, you're the one that's missing out. But I will not allow that to stop me from living my life from the place that I know is healthiest for me and where I feel called to.
Yeah. And I think we're seeing more and more, like this was a year or so ago, but there was the Canadian broadcaster, the woman who let her hair go gray and then got fired. But there was so much, I hate that for her, but I also really liked the conversation because it really brought it to the forefront. And she was very unapologetic. She was like, yeah. And, she's gone on and done other great stuff, but it's like that sort of, this is your problem, not mine. Yeah. And I think as more and more women do that, it will become more and more acceptable.
Yeah. And I talk about that a lot. I'm like, ladies, if we're going to change things on the broader spectrum, we need to do it as a collective in big numbers and do it together. These one-offs and not embracing all the different parts and all of our different stories and welcoming everyone into the conversation and from their different backgrounds is how we make changes. And when you see somebody else do it, it's like an invitation. It's almost like this unwritten permission that we. So go ahead.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, so one of the things I always say is fighting ageism is an inside job because you have to start with yourself. Yeah. You can't fight ageism for other people if you're still believing all the ageist stuff yourself. Yeah. And so thinking about what the decisions you're making, what are you thinking to yourself? Like, am I too old to wear that? The gray hair, the different things. But then we all have to do it because then as we each start to question it, then we start looking around and going, oh, this is a bunch of BS, right? All this stuff that we're being told all the time. So that's how you get to the collective is, just if I can get you to stop and go, why do I think that I'm too old to wear that? Or why do I think I have to go get, Botox all the time? Or why do I think whatever it is? And if you come to a conclusion, you go, I just like how it makes me look. I feel better. Fine. But you may also go, I don't like this anymore. It takes too much time or it's too expensive. And then if you can start to question it, then you can make different choices versus the everyday sort of thing. But that's how you get to the collective, kind of one person at a time.
Absolutely. 100%. I talk about this all the time with women. You have to learn to embrace all of your beautiful, complex layers, see the value in them, accept them. We don't have to love everything, but acknowledge it, accept it, and just consider it as part of the life growing experience in you before you're going to be able to do that well for anybody else in any branch of life. So thank you so much for that. So good. All right. In terms of your why and your values behind your work, talk to me about how you got on this road, how your why and your values informed that this is the work you wanted to do.
So there's two pieces there. One, I'm getting older, right? Yeah. I'm 50. And this, I think it's my journey. And being on that journey makes me start to question everything about it. Just like what you were saying about, you feel like you're in your prime and yet the world is kind of sending you these messages. And so it's my journey too. And I know the power of a positive aging story. And I want to have a positive aging story. I want to look forward to growing older. And I have a lot of good models out there, a lot of role models who have gone before me, who I look at and go, yeah, I want to do it like that. And so part of this is just it's my, I want to say fight, but I'm not sure that's the right word. Yeah. But I want it to be in the forefront of my mind. I want to be questioning the messaging I'm getting, what people are telling me I can and can't do, what I think the next 10 and 20 years are going to look like. I think that's really important. And the power that positive aging story has, you live on average 7.5 years longer. You have less risk of dementia. You walk faster. You do all these positive outcomes because you are looking forward to that time. So that's one piece of it. It's my story too. It's all of our stories, because if it's either get older or don't. And I want to get older and I want to really enjoy it. The other piece is my day job is as a care manager, and I run a care management agency. And the thing that I see there is that people who aren't looking forward to getting older, who are really afraid of it, they bury their heads in the sand and they don't do any of the planning and preparation that you need to do to make sure you have a great aging experience. So they don't do their will, and they don't do their powers of attorney, and they don't do any healthcare planning, and they don't do any financial planning, or very minimal. And then, of course, things do change as we get older, and what hits the fan. And then I get a call as a care manager because something has happened, and now everybody in the family is scrambling because they don't know what mom wanted, and they don't know what to do, and they don't know where the documents are, and they don't know how to manage the finances, and it's chaos.
Yeah. And
what keeps people from doing that planning is the fear. It's the stereotype. It's the negativity. I don't want to acknowledge that I'm getting older, because somehow I believe that if I don't talk about it or I don't acknowledge it, it means it's not happening. Right.
Exactly.
And so they don't. And then they end up in, excuse my language, but they end up in a shit show because they did not plan and prepare. And so I really think one of the other powers of a positive aging story is the ability to look forward with clear eyes and go, I want to make sure this is a great journey, not only for me, but for my spouse and for my kids. And so I'm going to get all my ducks in a row. I'm going to do everything so that I get the kind of care I want, when and if I need it. I get the kind of life I want, just all those things. And so that's the other piece is the kind of the professional. Like, I see the difference in what happens when you have planned and prepared and when you have not.
Yeah. I thank you for sharing that. I think that's such an important component. I was at a dinner a couple of months ago. My good friend I talked about earlier, my 40-year-old friend, she is a leader of a financial advising company here in Fresno. And she had a speaker come in who's been a woman that works in their industry that helps people with the very thing, getting the plans in place. And she set out a very clear step. And it was a wake-up call for me. We weren't as collectively organized as I thought we were. So it was a great wake-up call. And I got those notes. And we've got time set aside during the holidays, because my husband gets 2.5 weeks off during the holidays, that we're going to sit down and update the parts of our plan that need some updating. I knew some things did, but it was just such a great reminder. And also we've lost my in-laws in the last couple of years, and they were really good about setting things in place. And even within that, it still took a year to settle the estate, and they had things in place. I mean, and so it was also a wake-up call to all of us kids, and our own kids were like, can you make sure to do this? We want you around for many years, but we've seen what you all have gone through. And my sister-in-law especially is the executor, but my husband was helping her a lot too. And having the peace of mind of knowing that whatever happens, whenever it happens, everything's covered. We're not leaving stress and fear. If fear is a driver, most of the time fear is going to hold you back. Do not let fear get in the way of you being prepared, living well, whether and just having the peace of mind. My husband and I know if we travel abroad now and God forbid something happen, things are taken care of. Our kids don't have to worry. We've lived our best lives for the whole amount of it, and those things are covered. And there's no reason to fear that. Being prepared gives you a freedom.
Not preparing is not protection.
Yes, it doesn't mean it won't happen.
But somehow people act like it is.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, because I cannot tell you the number of times people have said, oh, I'll do that stuff when it's time.
Yes.
The time is now, right? Like
Right.
when my oldest son is 18, and a week after he turned 18, we had him in the attorney's office doing his healthcare power of attorney and his financial power of attorney and all of that, because I knew that the moment he turned 18, I'm not in charge of him anymore. And the only way the doctors are going to talk to me or anything like that is if we get that stuff done. And people look at me like I'm crazy. And I'm like, no, you don't get it. Like, everyone should have this stuff done. This is you are an adult problem. It is not you're an old person problem. There's no when it's time. The time was yesterday. Like, do it. But people do. They just kind of, they pretend like they're not aging, which of course we all are. We'll be older at the end of this podcast than we were at the beginning.
Exactly.
And then they act like if they make plans, it's going to cause them to pass away.
Yes. I think that's a very real, unrealistic fear.
Yeah. It's like we're going to speak it into existence. And I'm like, guys, I got news. We are all going to die. Guaranteed. And doing this paperwork is not going to change that or hasten it in any way. Yeah. It's just going to make everyone's life easier. It's really a gift for everyone in your family, because it's a gift because if you're incapacitated, they know what you want. They know what kind of care you want. They know how to pay for it. They know all the things. And if you pass away, it's a gift because then it makes their life so much easier as they try to deal with the estate and do all the things. Because on a good day, doing that takes about a year. And on a bad day, when you died intestate without a will and all that, you're looking at multiple years of headaches. So if you love your family members and you don't want to make their life miserable, maybe if you don't like them, maybe then it's fine. I don't know. I'm sure there's somebody that's going to go, I don't care because I don't like them anyway. But, if you do care, then this is something to do to make their life easier.
Yeah. Planning and clarity is kind. Absolutely. Yeah. And that goes nicely into the, living out of our own expectations versus others. You are blowing up the whole expectations conversation in the best way. And when is it in your own life that you realized this was important for you personally? Because I think that also helps you impact the way you talk about it on behalf of people that are aging as well.
I mean, I think, so I've had my care management business for about 12 years now.
Okay.
And I really went into that with the incorrect expectations. I really thought I was going to be working with 40-year-olds who were caring for their 70-year-old parents. And that is not the case at all. I am working with 70-year-olds who are caring for their 90-something-year-old.
Yeah.
And discovering that over the years and seeing this play out so many times, I was like, oh, I have this all wrong. And my background is in lifespan development, adulthood, and aging. I mean, that's what my degree is in.
Okay.
And I thought if I had that so wrong in terms of who were the older adults, who were the people being cared for, who were the caregivers, if I had it wrong with all my training and expertise, we've all got it wrong. I mean, people just, their ideas of what older adulthood is like today are so radically off base from what older adulthood is actually like. It's so much better than you think it's going to be. Yeah. There are so many seniors out there doing amazing things, having a great time, starting new businesses, doing all kinds of stuff. And we kind of, sometimes you'll see like news stories about some sort of like super senior, and I'm putting super senior in quotes. And I really want people to understand that experience of having an amazing older adulthood, doing really interesting things, being physically active, that is common today. That is not, they are not outliers. That is the norm. Yeah. And now maybe still it's a little bit of an outlier if you're 110 and you're doing those things. But like a 70 or 80, even 90-year-old being healthy and active, You probably know some, you just may not know how old they are.
Right.
You may not
You think they're younger than they are.
You think they're younger than they are. And because we just have such perceptions that are based on older stereotypes that when we see people in those ages doing really interesting things, we assume that they're younger than they actually are.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. Such good points there. So going back to your choice to go into this line of work, when you decided to go to school, get the degrees, what was it in your curiosity that drew you to this?
My grandparents. I grew up right next door to my grandparents, and my grandfather passed away. And pretty much overnight, my mom and her sister realized that he had been protecting my grandmother and that her dementia was much worse than they realized. Yeah. So they went from having two parents to having only one parent, and that one parent needed 24/7 supervision because she could not be left alone. And so that happened when I was in like 8th grade. And I watched my mom kind of navigate caring for her mom along with her sister from the time I was in 8th grade until I was a junior in college when my grandmother actually passed away.
Wow.
And I watched that whole experience and thought, why isn't there somebody who helps with this? Right? Like, why isn't there somebody that like points you to all the resources and helps guide you and answers questions? And everybody thinks it's like the discharge planner at the hospital. And this is no shade to them. But their job is to get you out of the hospital, right?
Exactly.
Their job is not to help you coordinate all the resources at home and get home care and home health and all the equipment set up and all those sorts of things. So yeah, that's where it came from. I mean, I really, I learned a lot over those years, kind of watching that happen and went, this is not the way to do it. Because they didn't have a guide. They didn't have a resource. So, they were trying things out and making mistakes and panicking when a caregiver didn't show up and just all the things. And that's really hard. And now we try to make it better.
I love that. So important. Thank you so much for that. I tell you, that experience you talk about is not uncommon. We had that very experience in my own adopted family. We had no idea what Grandpa Gene was covering up until he was gone. And then the reality of it was like, holy cow.
And it is not uncommon for caregivers to die first. Because they exhaust themselves before they ask for help. And then they pass away, but rather than the person that they're caring for.
Yeah. And the stress that goes with it and the trying to mask because there's just this, again, it goes back to those expectations. And then they put this undue burden on themselves to take care of things that they were never equipped to take care of. Yeah, I think that's a whole other conversation. But thank you for sharing that background on what led you to this. In living out F.E.E.L, in finding in learning to embrace your layers. Talk to me about your layers journey. That ability to really acknowledge and accept all the pieces and parts of who you are. We all have those parts that we wish didn't happen, decisions we wish didn't make, things we wish didn't happen to us. But at some point, I have learned through my own journey, you got to get to a point where you can at least, you don't have to love it, but you got to acknowledge it and give it room to breathe. So knowing your own value is what leads you to know the importance of prioritizing you. So that I work with people a lot about that. So talk to me about your journey of the layers.
So, I have gotten to a point where I really do believe, I'll say everything happens for a reason, or it all works out, or there was a great Wayne Dyer book before he passed away called "I Can See Clearly Now," where he looks back at his life and he goes, "Oh, if that hadn't happened, this wouldn't have happened. If that hadn't happened, this wouldn't have happened." And I have 2 adopted daughters, and there was a job I had that I really liked prior to me starting my business that I lost, not because of anything about me, but because the roles changed and they basically transitioned that role out of existence. And I was really mad and I was really sad when that happened. And I was really kind of angry at the universe, right? Like this was a great job and it was a great role and it was perfect and it was a great place to be and just all the things. But losing that is actually what motivated me to start my business. Cause I kind of went, well, I've talked about starting that business and, now I got no excuse. I got all the time in the world. I better go start that business. And I did. So that really kind of negative thing led me to start my business. And then in starting my business and starting to network, right? Like going out and meeting people and trying to get people to know what I do and all that sort of stuff. I met a financial advisor who then introduced me to his wife at some event, right? And I got to know his wife really well. And she's an elder law attorney. And that deals the right, I want to network with her because I want her to know what I do and all those things. Long story short, she introduced me to someone who was working with my daughters when they were in foster care, because she called me one day and she said, you know how you're always saying you'd like to adopt, but the girls just have to fall into your lap. Like you don't want to work for it. I didn't want to do adoption because it was so expensive.
Right.
And, she said, you're always saying that. I was like, yeah. And she said, well, I think I just met your daughters. And I went,
wow.
Okay. And she said, can I give your name to this person who's working with them, who happened to share office space with the attorney? And I said, sure. Okay, whatever. And she did. And we went and did the foster care classes and they ended up moving in with us and they're my daughters and they've been with us for 8 years now. But I can look back now and go, this thing that happened that made me so mad and I was so upset about, like I was, so upset. And if that had not happened, I wouldn't have started my business. I wouldn't have met the financial advisor or the attorney. I wouldn't have my daughters now.
Wow.
And I can't imagine not having them. And so it's this sort of like, okay, whatever's happening, it's all going to work out. And it's really sort of relaxing to relax into that and to go, it may seem really crappy right now, but that doesn't mean it's not going to work out in a way you just can't even see coming.
Yeah. And I think you did something really important in that moment. You made a choice to move forward. You decided not to stay stuck there and just be mad. You took action. You moved forward. And I think that's such an important part of the layers journey too. I'm like, all right, this thing has happened and I had no control over it, but I can choose how I respond to it. I can choose the way I move forward with it. I've got this opportunity now. And that has a lot to do with your ability to embrace your layers as well as how you respond to those things in your life that allow you to move forward. I mean, and it's such a great example. So thank you so much for sharing that. And this really speaks perfectly into, as you've learned to do this, living out what I call living out F.E.E.L, finding empowerment, embracing layers, the impact it had on your relationship with yourself, the confidence of knowing you could start this business, knowing you could connect with these people, but also the impact it had on your other relationships. You have these 2 beautiful daughters now. I mean, I think that's such a classic example of that. Are there other relationships it's impacted as well?
It's probably impacted all of them. I can't imagine that it wouldn't. I was looking up at my bulletin board because I have a little quote up there that says responsibility is your respond ability. You get to choose how you respond. You have the ability to choose how to respond. And I really like that because, and when that happened, I actually I saw in a store at the time, a little plaque or something that said, I get to choose how the story is going to end. And I hung that in my house for a while when all that was happening to go, okay, this feels awful, but I get to choose how this story is going to end. And that takes something that feels very out of your control and puts it back in your control, right? To say there's crap happening over here, but I get to choose how the story is going to end, based on what I do today. And that's empowering. It makes you feel a lot better.
Oh boy, no, it does it. And that is I have 3 core pillars that I really operate off of. And when I'm working in this work that I do, it's like, you are valuable because of who you are. You are worthy, not because of how much you do, but because you exist in the world, and you get to choose. Because so many times I run into women who feel like they have no choices. Oh, yes, you do.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to reframe that conversation. We're going to take a look at your life, and I'm going to show you all the places and ways you do have choices. So thank you so much for sharing that, because that, I think, is such a powerful, simple, but powerful message that if we could grab onto that, it changes our whole way we look at our life and how we move through it. Thank you so much for that. All right. We are winding down here. Tell me 5 activities that nourish you.
Spending time with my kids most of the time, unless they're all fighting, and then that doesn't work. But most of the time it does. So there's caveats. Writing nourishes me, which is why it's a priority to try to set time aside for that. 5 other things. The napping really nourishes me. I'm a big napper. I love that. Reading. I love reading a good book. And then probably just walking my dogs, like getting out in the world and walking my dogs, and seeing neighbors or talking to a friend when I'm walking. That's probably one of my very favorite things to do. I don't like walking my dogs by myself. I want a friend, and I want to chit chat with them while I'm there. I love that.
Yeah, I love that. So good. All right. 5 words on how you want to feel the next 6 months.
Oh, accomplished. I'm trying to write another book. Relaxed about that process.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I want to get motivated. There's another word, but I also don't want to feel like I'm putting a ton of pressure on myself for it. So it's that sort of balance. Rested, because I feel like it's been really hectic lately, and I'd like to have some rest in the next few months, and then just peaceful, right? And what I mean by that is inner peace, like just getting my own brain to calm down and kind of go, okay, everything is fine. Yeah. Because it's a hard world sometimes to have inner peace.
Absolutely. Oh boy. I mean, when you can get to that point where you can have contentment within the chaos. But I think that goes back to what you said earlier about not losing sight of the fact that you have choices. And I think that can really lead to that contentment as well. Thank you so much for your time today. Tell people where they can find you and follow you.
Sure. So I have a website. It's just my name, CorinneAuman.com. That is CorinneAuman.com. And there you can find more about me. You can find links to the book, and all my social media links are on there too.
Okay. And this will be on our website at embracinglayers.com as well, listeners. So you can go there to find out. Any last thoughts you'd like to leave with our listeners today?
My favorite thought is that, fighting ageism is an inside job. And if you don't like how older people are treated today, if you are dreading getting older because you're going, oh man, I don't want to be in that group, the way to change that is to start fighting ageism today, because your future can be different if we all work together for it now.
So good. That's your last thought. I'm not going to add anything to that, because that is the one I want you to leave with today. Dr. Corinne Auman, thank you for how you show up in the world. Thank you for spending this time with me today. I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, listeners, you've got your marching orders. Take good care of yourselves and have a great week. Hello, and thank you so much for being with us today on this episode of the F.E.E.L Podcast. If you would like more information on how you can apply these talking points that I share with our guests in each episode to your own life, really utilize this F.E.E.L framework, go to embracinglayers.com, fill out our contact form, and let's set up a free 30-minute consultation to talk about how you can start living your most authentic, organic, healthy, feel-fueled life. Thanks again for being with us today. We'll be back to you soon with another episode here on the F.E.E.L Podcast.